I've read all the comments, I've read the details, I've heard what Hyundai has to say, I've heard what you guys have to say, and I've got to say there's one thing I love about this electric hatch, crossover, whatever you want to call it, this new electric car from Hyundai. One thing I absolutely love. There's one thing that I kind of hate. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. Great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Full disclosure, I've always loved fast, hot hatches, hatchbacks. This is not one of them. People are getting confused in the comments. This is not a hatchback. If you want to call this a hatchback, it's the biggest hatchback ever made in the history of mankind. It's a crossover. It's basically like a small wagon or a big wagon. It's got a pretty big boot. It's way bigger than any hatchback on the market. So comparing it to the Golf R or the Hyundai i30N, they're different cars, completely different. You can easily drive around in this vehicle with 5 people in comfort, plenty of knee room for them. It's not a little hatchback. It's a totally different car. So now we've cleared that up. Let's have a look at the specs, which are very, very impressive, but which lead me to what I think could be a significant issue with this EV. For one, though, to get started, it looks really good. Now, I'm not sure about some of the black cladding, the black plastic that's been stuck on the back of it, but anyhow, either way, this is a good looking car. There's no two ways about it. There's been a lot of hype for this EV. There's been probably more articles about this EV than maybe even in the Cybertruck in Australia. I mean, here in Australia, there's been so much media attention on the Hyundai Ioniq 5N. Hyundai have done a great job with marketing this product. It will be expensive though. It's got a big battery pack, well, big for this kind of vehicle. It's actually got an 84 kilowatt hour battery pack. It's got pretty insane amount of power. I mean, dual motor, it's got more power than an EV6, but let's have a look at the features first. The Hyundai Ioniq 5N is based on the brand's electric global modular platform. It leverages the expertise Hyundai has gained through other EVs and of course through their hot hatch style vehicles, even though it's not a hot hatch like I said. It has the 84 kilowatt bigger battery pack. It needs that because it has an insane amount of power that would drain this battery very quickly. The front motor has 166 kilowatt of power. That's 222 horsepower. The motor at the rear has 282 kilowatt. That is 378 horsepower. That's an insane amount of power because that's not even on boost mode. Together, you've got 448 kilowatt on standard mode. That's 601 horsepower. But if you press the boost button or the go baby go button, Gone in 60 Seconds reference anyway, it gives you 478 kilowatt for a temporary period of time, enough to do a quarter mile. That's 641 horsepower. That's even more power than the Kia EV6 GT. It allows the car to do 0 to 62 miles an hour, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.4 seconds. It also can do 162 miles per hour. That's 260 kilometers an hour. And it's going to be a very fun electric car. Now, there's never been a car that's designed that's this size that's made for going around a racetrack. So because Hyundai have called it the Ioniq 5N, people think that's what it is, but it's not. It's just a really powerful crossover, which would be a lot of fun to drive in a straight line. So the body has an additional 42 welding points and 2.1 meters of additional adhesive to improve its rigidity. Hyundai has strengthened the steering column and developed a system known as the N pedal. This software function uses similar technology to the I-pedal regen braking system and improves turn-in and boost throttle sensitivity. An N torque distribution system appears to be transformative, providing fully variable front and rear torque distribution that can be adjusted to 11 different levels. There is an N drift optimizer with an integrated torque kick drift function that allows the driver to simulate the clutch kick action of a rear-wheel drive internal combustion engine car. In other words, it's got a pretend manual transmission, which is ridiculous. But in some ways, it does function way better than Toyota's version. Toyota's version, Lexus's version is simply a toy. This actually does work because it changes the amount of regen based on what gear you're in. So it's sort of, I think it's really an answer to a question that nobody asked, but either way, at least it actually does do something functional. The upgrades though, well, there's quite a few more to the car. It's got massive rims. The rims, I'll get to those in a minute, but they're ridiculous. That's what I think. However, it's also got one upgrade that I think is really important and it makes a lot of sense. Try to stop this heavy car when it's going that fast, you could have some issues. So Hyundai upgraded the brakes. It's got 400mm 15.7 inch front discs with 4-piston calipers and 360mm 14.1 inch rear discs. The power of the regen braking system has been improved, which is really good, and it can provide 0.6 Gs of decelerative force, meaning one pedal driving. There is also said to be an imperceptible transition between the regen brakes and the hydraulic brakes. An N-race mode allows drivers to choose between endurance and sprint settings. The first reduces peak power for longer track sessions, while the second prioritizes peak power. Now, if you take this thing on a track, well, I think you're a bit crazy. You're better off just getting an actual vehicle meant for a track. But either way, this thing does sound very, very impressive. I also like the subtle changes and improvements Hyundai have made to the interior. Those are nice as well. So what about the pretend manual transmission? Well, it's actually an 8-speed dual clutch transmission that comes from Hyundai's internal combustion engine N car. It controls motor torque output and simulates the jolt you get when shifting gears. Simulates the jolt you get. It's basically a simulator. The N Active Sound Plus function uses 8 internal and 2 external speakers with an ignition sound profile to mimic Hyundai N's 2-litre turbo 4-cylinder engine. So it's got pretend noises. Apparently, you can also pick to change the noise to a supersonic theme inspired by twin-engine fighter jets to try and trick people into thinking you're driving a fighter jet. That is truly bizarre. Guys, what do you think about this? The pretend manual transmission and the fake noises to pretend you're driving a vehicle with an engine. Personally, I think they're ridiculous. You don't have to use them though, so I don't have a problem with them, but I think spending money on that kind of thing is a waste of time and effort. So anyhow, that's my take. Visual changes. The car is 20mm lower. Not a lot of difference, to be honest. That's, 2 centimeters or 0.78 inches. And it's 50mm wider, 1.9 inches. But as you can see, that's got nothing to do with the actual body of the car. That just means that the wheels are probably got less offset on the wheels. So probably like a minus 10 degree offset or maybe a 0 degree offset. And of course, it's got the flared arches. So that just makes the car look wider. But it does look good. I've got to say, it definitely improves the looks. So does the front splitter. That front section of the car down underneath the lights there looks really nice. So the front stands out with the new splitter. It's got air flaps and air curtains, while at the rear there's a unique spoiler, a pronounced diffuser, a triangular brake light, and unlike the standard Ioniq 5, a rear window wiper. You also get what I think are the most ridiculous part of this car, a set of 21-inch forged aluminium wheels that are wrapped in 275/35 Pirelli P0 tyres. So very low profile, 35mm profile. Not mil, but 35 section profile. Wide tyres though. The tyre width is great, but the fact that they think you want 21-inch wheels, I don't know what the advantage of 21-inch wheels is. There's no advantage to them, only disadvantages. All that's going to do is eat into your range. I say this about every EV. You don't want massive rims. It's just going to massively decrease your range. It does make a big difference. If you put, say, 18s or 19s on this car, it would still function the same. You'd probably just get about 10% more range. The interior, like I said before, looks great. The center console has knee pads and shin supports for track driving, so if you push your legs against the side of the car, or just for driving fast around corners. The N bucket seats come standard, and it's also got aluminium pedals. Hyundai say this is a game changer for electric vehicle performance. Now, I don't really agree with this. I think if that's what they wanted to do, make a vehicle that would be, say, a hot hatch equivalent. This is not. It's much bigger than a hot hatch. It's much heavier than a hot hatch. It's got all these new technologies. It's got 8-speed dual clutch transmission. It's got a bigger battery pack. It's going to weigh well over 2,200 kilos. It's probably going to weigh about 4,800 pounds. So to pretend like this is some kind of race car, in my opinion, doesn't make sense. But I still love this car. I think it's fantastic. It's a little bit wannabe, a little bit try hard, but it's damn fast and it would be a lot of fun. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.